The void of deep space was quiet, almost peaceful. Stars glimmered like distant candles, and vast stretches of darkness stretched endlessly. Among this endless emptiness, the starship Chrython drifted, damaged and trembling. Its hull bore marks of countless strikes, and its engines sputtered weakly, barely keeping the ship alive. Inside, the crew moved frantically. They were an alien species called the Saurians, tall and lithe, with pale blue skin that shimmered faintly under emergency lights. Captain Lyra Oren barked orders, her voice urgent yet controlled. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. Stabilize the oxygen systems. We don't have much time." Her second officer, Taven, worked quickly at a console. Sparks flew as he tried to reroute power to failing shields.
"Captain!"
"The enemy fleet is closing in. Their weapon systems are faster than ours. We won't last long." Lyra's eyes narrowed. She knew the truth. They were surrounded by a fleet that had no mercy. A species whose name struck fear even in the Saurians' hearts. They had no hope of victory. The only chance they had was to send a distress call and hope someone, somewhere, could hear them. "Do it," Lyra said softly, almost a whisper. "Send the distress signal." Taven nodded and began typing a series of commands. The ship's communications array flared to life. The message they were sending was chaotic, broken, filled with fragments of Saurian words and warning codes. Yet within the chaos, the urgency was clear. Help. Extinction wave. Cannot survive. As the signal surged into the void, the enemy fleet's weapons fired again, rocking the Chrython. Lyra grabbed the railing, fighting to keep her balance. "Get everyone to the escape pods." "We may not survive this, but maybe someone will hear us." Millions of miles away on a quiet part of Earth, a signal blipped faintly on a monitoring station. The small research complex sat on a remote mountain, surrounded by thick forests and misty hills. Inside, Dr. Alina Rafik leaned over her console, eyes sharp, fingers flying across the keys. Alina was young but brilliant. Her specialty was deep space communications, analyzing signals that most people would consider random noise. Her eyes widened as she isolated the blip from the cosmic background. It was faint, almost impossible to detect, but it had a pattern. Something intelligent? She frowned and adjusted the filters. "This isn't just interference," she muttered to herself. "This is a message from somewhere far, far away." Her assistant Raj glanced over. "Are you sure, Dr. Rafik? It could just be a solar flare or a malfunction in the equipment." Alina shook her head. "No, this has structure. There's repetition, patterns that indicate language. It's someone is calling for help." Raj's eyebrows rose. "A distress call? From where?" Alina hesitated. "I don't know. But it's not from Earth, not from any human probe. It's coming from far beyond our system." Her fingers flew over the keyboard again, amplifying the signal. Words began to emerge, though not fully clear. The fragments chilled her. "Extinction wave. Cannot survive. Help." Raj leaned closer. "That sounds serious. What do we do?" Alina's eyes narrowed. "We find out who it is, and we answer." The next few hours were tense. Alina worked tirelessly, connecting Earth satellite arrays, isolating the signal and filtering out the static. Every time she thought she had a clear message, it broke apart again. Still, she could tell it was urgent, desperate, and alive. Meanwhile, the Saurians on the Chrython fought for survival. Their escape pods were being prepped one by one. Captain Lyra moved from pod to pod, checking on her crew. She spoke to each alien, encouraging them, keeping morale steady even as destruction loomed. "Stay calm. Stay together," she said firmly. "Even if we fail, someone out there may hear our plea." A young Saurian, barely 20 cycles old, trembled as he climbed into a pod. "Captain, will anyone hear us?" Lyra's expression softened. "I don't know, but we must try. We must always try." Back on Earth, Alina made her first breakthrough. Using a combination of quantum relay satellites and long-range amplifiers, she managed to strengthen the signal enough to extract more information. The language was alien, yes, but parts were translatable. "Raj, look at this," she said, pointing at the screen. "They have a planet. Their people are trapped there, and they're running out of time." Raj leaned in, reading the screen. "A whole planet? That's insane. How can we even reach them?" Alina's mind raced. "We can't reach them physically. Not yet. But we can communicate. We can guide them. We can tell them how to survive as long as possible. And maybe someone else can help them later." Her heart pounded. She knew the responsibility was immense. They were hearing a cry for help from another world, a world that could vanish if no one acted. Back in the Saurian system, the enemy fleet closed in. Their ships were dark and silent, their weapons precise. The Chrython's shields flickered under repeated attacks and explosions echoed through the hull. Lyra gritted her teeth and continued her command. Evacuate in groups of 5. Use pods Delta, Echo, and Theta first. Keep the life rafts close to each other. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Tavin reported from the communications deck.
Captain!
Our signal has reached. Someone, there is a response. Lyra's eyes widened. A response? Who is it? Tavin's hands trembled as he typed. Unknown origin. Far from here. They are amplifying our message, trying to understand us. For the first time since the attack began, a spark of hope lit Lyra's heart. Someone somewhere had heard them. Maybe they weren't entirely alone. Back on Earth, Alina heard the faintest reply. It was just a few words, garbled but unmistakable. We hear, continue, survive. Alina felt a thrill she could not describe. She turned to Raj, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. They understand us. They know we're listening. Raj stared at the screen. This is incredible. They're alive. And we can help them? Alina nodded. Yes, we can guide them. We can give them instructions. We can help them stay alive, for now. Her hands flew over the keyboard as she typed instructions in the best translation she could manage. She told the Saurians how to stabilize power cores, reroute oxygen, and prepare escape pods. She watched as tiny fragments of understanding passed back through the signal. For a moment, the distance of millions of light years felt smaller. For the first time, Earth and the Saurians were connected by hope, courage, and the sheer determination to survive. As the Chrython continued to drift through danger, Lyra held on to the faint words from Earth. Every message was a lifeline, every instruction a promise that someone, somewhere, was fighting for them. She looked around at her crew. They were tired, scared, and wounded, but their eyes reflected hope. Hope that humans, or whoever they were, would help them survive this nightmare. We may not know them, Lyra said softly, almost to herself. But they are listening, and that may be enough. And so, in the silent void of space, a tiny thread connected two worlds, one drowning in fear, the other reaching across the stars to offer hope. The distress call had traveled far, but for the first time someone had heard every word. And that someone was Earth. The galaxy was watching. Earth had never felt so small and yet so alive. The faint signal from a distant star system had awakened something new in humanity. The knowledge that they were not alone, and that someone, somewhere, needed them. Dr. Alina Rafiq stared at the screen in the quiet of her research station. The amplified signal from the Saurian ship blinked intermittently, broken and garbled, yet each fragment carried meaning, a message of life hanging by the thinnest thread. Raj, her assistant, had been working alongside her for hours, eyes bloodshot, yet he refused to leave. Alina, I think we can piece this together. There's more structure than before, he said, pointing at the display. Alina nodded, her hands flying across the keyboard. Yes, their messages aren't just random noise. They have patterns. They're giving coordinates, planet details, and warnings about the enemy fleet. We have to act fast. At the edge of the solar system, Earth's deep space observation satellites began to hum with activity. Alina's team rerouted the data through quantum relay networks, amplifying the signal so that it could be continuously monitored. Every word, every fragment became precious. The message revealed more about the Saurians. Their planet, called Voron, was a world rich with oceans and floating forests. But their civilization was under siege. An enemy fleet far faster and more technologically advanced than the Saurians had trapped them in their system. The Chrython had been their only chance to survive, but now it was failing. Alina translated aloud, her voice tense. They say, do not delay. Extermination comes. Only survival is hope. Raj swallowed hard. We can't reach them physically. Our fastest ships would take decades to get there. Alina shook her head. We don't have to reach them physically. We can communicate. We can guide them through survival. Every second counts. Even small instructions, power reroutes, life support adjustments can save lives. Her fingers flew over the console as she transmitted instructions. Stabilize power to life pods, seal hull breaches, redirect emergency oxygen. The Saurians responded slowly through the garbled signal, confirming that each instruction worked. In the Voron system, Captain Lyra Oran looked at the flickering console with a mix of disbelief and hope. "They hear us," she whispered to herself, somewhere far away. "They hear us." Her second officer, Taven, glanced at her. "Captain, are they real? Are they even a species we can trust?" Lyra's eyes were steady, determined. "We have no choice but to trust them. They're our only lifeline." The crew worked in tandem with the guidance from Earth. Systems that had been failing began to stabilize. Life pods powered up, shields held slightly longer, and the panic that had gripped the ship lessened for a moment. Back on Earth, Alina and her team realized the situation was more complex than they had imagined. The enemy fleet was approaching, and they were targeting any communications in the Voron system. If the Saurian signals were detected, the attackers could find them faster. Alina leaned back, thinking, "We need to mask the communications. If we can relay messages using quantum encryption and shift frequencies rapidly, we can hide their location." "We might buy them time," Raj nodded, impressed. "That's brilliant. And maybe, if they survive long enough, we can start planning something bigger, something more direct." Alina's eyes gleamed with determination. "Yes, but first, we keep them alive. Every second counts." Meanwhile, in the Saurian system, the enemy fleet's ships moved with precision, encircling the planet. They were cold, silent, and efficient, machines of destruction guided by ruthless strategy. Every second of delay brought the Saurians closer to extinction. Lyra Oran observed the enemy fleet through the damaged sensors of the Chrython. "They're fast," she muttered. "Too fast for our weapons. We can't outrun them." Taven worked beside her, sweat dripping from his brow. "Our shields won't last long. They'll break through if we try to fight. We must focus on evacuation." Lyra nodded grimly. "Yes, our mission is to survive. Every life we save is a victory." The crew moved like a single organism, loading life pods, transferring critical data, and maintaining weak shields. Every instruction from Earth was followed carefully, with precision born from desperation. On Earth, the news of the Saurian distress call began to spread among scientific communities. Debates erupted. Many were skeptical. Why risk resources for a species we don't know? Some asked. Alina stood at a press conference, calm but firm. "This is more than science. This is about responsibility. If we can help even in the smallest way, we must. These are lives, and we have the ability to make a difference. Humanity has the choice to act." Her words resonated. Slowly, government authorities agreed to support her plan. Additional satellites and deep space arrays were put to work, monitoring the Saurian signals and amplifying the instructions to the distant planet. Meanwhile, in orbit above Voron, a small Saurian transport attempted to escape the planet. It faltered, engines sputtering under stress. Lyra Oran watched, tension tight in her chest. "Keep it steady. Follow Earth's instructions exactly. You can make it." The transport pilot, a young Saurian named Mara, followed the guidance transmitted from Earth, adjusting power flow, recalibrating navigation systems, and avoiding debris fields. Against all odds, the transport made it safely into orbit, carrying dozens of civilians. Lyra allowed herself a moment to breathe. "It works," she whispered. "They really can help us." Alina monitored the transmission closely. She could see the confirmation signals. The Saurians were surviving. One by one, life pods and small ships stabilized, guided by her team's instructions. Raj shook his head in disbelief. "We're actually saving them. We're making a difference." Alina smiled, though her heart remained heavy. "Yes, but we can't stop. The enemy fleet is still out there. If they find these signals, everything could be destroyed. We must remain careful." She quickly began adjusting frequencies, creating decoy signals, and using quantum relays to mask the Saurians' location. Every second of survival mattered. Back on the Chrython, Lyra Oran moved through the corridors, giving encouragement and reassurance. "Stay calm. Work together. Follow the guidance. Earth, whoever they are, is helping us. We must trust them." Taven glanced at her, hope shining in his eyes. "It's incredible. They are so far away, yet they are guiding us step by step." Lyra nodded. "Distance does not matter when someone chooses to act. We are witnessing something remarkable." The Saurian crew continued their preparations for evacuation. Life pods filled with civilians, critical technology, and important cultural data. Every instruction from Earth was followed carefully, every adjustment precise. It was a collaboration that defied light years of distance, a connection built on survival and trust. As hours passed, the Saurian survival rate improved. Though the enemy fleet remained a constant threat, the knowledge that someone far away was listening, guiding, and helping gave the crew strength. They were not alone in the galaxy. On Earth, Alina and her team worked tirelessly. Each successful transmission, each confirmed survival signal, was celebrated quietly in the control room. They were helping an entire civilization survive step by step. Alina looked at the screen, her mind racing with possibilities. We can keep them alive for now, but soon, we must consider the next step. We cannot just guide them. We must find a way to reach them. To save them fully, Raj nodded. And that means preparing for more than just communication. That means preparing for action. Alina's eyes hardened with determination. Yes, humanity will not stay silent. If a civilization calls for help, we will answer, even if it means stepping into the unknown. As night fell on Earth and the Saurian ships hovered desperately in orbit, a faint but persistent hope glimmered across the void. Two civilizations, separated by light years, had found each other in the darkest hour. The Saurians clung to life, guided by a species they had never seen, and humans realized their first true role in the galaxy, protectors of life. For now, the immediate danger was managed. The enemy fleet continued to patrol, unaware that their prey was being saved by distant minds. The next phase, however, would require courage beyond anything either species had faced before. And in the quiet hum of the control room, Alina whispered to herself almost as a promise, "We will not let them die. Not if we can help it." The galaxy was listening, and humanity had answered its first call. Earth had heard the call. Humanity had answered. But hearing was only the first step. Acting was something far harder, something that tested every limit of courage, intelligence, and determination. Dr. Alina Rafik sat in the central operations room of the Deep Space Communications Hub. The screens in front of her displayed a web of signals, satellites, and relay points, all working to keep the Saurians alive. Yet as she watched the flickering lights representing life pods and ships orbiting Voron, a deep tension gnawed at her. "We've kept them alive," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "But this is only temporary. The enemy fleet is still out there. If they don't evacuate soon, the planet will be lost." Her assistant, Raj, leaned closer to the display. "How do we even get there? Our fastest ships would take decades to reach them." Alina's jaw tightened. "We can't reach them physically. Not yet, but we can prepare. We can make a plan that will let us reach them as soon as possible. We can guide them to survival until then." Meanwhile, light years away, the Krython drifted in orbit around Voron. Captain Lyra Oren had begun coordinating the evacuation. The planet's atmosphere was unstable, fractured by centuries of industrial activity and now strained by the enemy's attacks. "Life pods Delta, Echo, and Theta are ready," she ordered. "Load civilians and critical data. Follow Earth's instructions to the letter. This is our only chance." The Saurian crew worked in harmony, moving swiftly but carefully. Every pod was precious. Every civilian saved was a victory. And every instruction from Earth, broken though it sometimes was a lifeline. Mira, the young transport pilot, adjusted her course according to the guidance transmitted from Earth. "Power levels stable. Shields holding. Navigation adjusted," she reported, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and relief. Lyra watched the monitor and allowed herself a small nod of approval. "Keep going. You're doing well. Stay focused. Every second matters." On Earth, Alina coordinated a team of engineers, scientists, and military advisors. Each member worked tirelessly to maintain communication and decipher incoming messages from the Saurians. "Dr. Rafik," one officer said, pointing at the screen, "we've detected the enemy fleet moving closer. Their patrol patterns are changing. They might detect the Saurian transmissions at any moment." Alina's fingers flew over the keyboard, rerouting quantum relays and masking signals. "We can hide them for now, but we need more than stealth. We need a strategy to get them off the planet safely. Every day they survive is another day we can plan a rescue." Her mind raced with possibilities. Earth's technology was primitive compared to the enemy fleet, but humans had something else. Ingenuity. They could create decoys, reroute communications, and guide the Saurians through survival in ways no one else would consider. Back on the Krython, the enemy fleet's ships glimmered in the darkness, moving like predators. Their weapon systems were precise, deadly, and relentless. Lyra knew there was no hope of winning a direct fight. Every engagement could cost lives. Every hesitation could mean death. "Captain," Taven said, his voice tight with concern. "The enemy has detected fluctuations in our communications. They may be closing in on our position." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Then we must make ourselves as small a target as possible. Stick to the instructions from Earth. Keep moving. Evacuate civilians. Protect the pods. That is our only priority." The crew worked in near silence, broken only by urgent commands and the occasional alert from failing systems. Yet beneath the fear there was determination. Every Saurian knew that survival was possible, not because of their weapons, but because of a species they had never seen, a species that had chosen to help them. Alina and her team continued to refine their guidance. Using Earth's array of satellites, they created a virtual map of the enemy fleet's patrols and blind spots. They transmitted detailed instructions to the Saurians, telling them how to maneuver life pods through weak points in the enemy's formation. "It's risky," Raj said, frowning. "One wrong move and the pods could be destroyed." Alina nodded. "I know, but we have to try. It's the only way. Humanity will not ignore a call for help, not when lives are at stake." The instructions reached the Saurians in broken bursts, yet they understood enough to act. Life pods moved through the gaps in the enemy formation, guided by distant voices across light years. As the evacuation continued, a new problem emerged. The Saurian planet's atmosphere was deteriorating faster than expected. Oxygen levels were dropping, and severe storms were forming in the upper layers of the atmosphere. Lyra Oren realized that time was running out even faster than she had feared. "Adjust the pod's trajectories to avoid the storms," she ordered. "Follow Earth's guidance. Focus on the civilians. We cannot lose anyone now." Mira piloted her transport through turbulent skies, following each instruction from Earth carefully. "Shields holding. Course adjusted. Propulsion stable," she reported. Her hands moved deftly over the controls, sweat glistening on her forehead. Taven watched the monitors, voice tight with tension. "Captain, they're making it. The pods are escaping." Lyra allowed herself a brief smile. "Then we keep going. We do not stop until every life pod is safe." On Earth, Alina realized that the Saurians' survival depended on more than instructions. They needed hope. She sent messages of encouragement, telling them that humanity was watching, guiding, and fighting alongside them in spirit. "Dr. Rafiq," Raj said softly, "do you think they understand what we are doing? That we care?" Alina smiled faintly. "I think they do. Hope travels far, even across light years, and right now, hope may be the most important thing we can give them." The team continued their work through the night, relaying instructions, masking signals, and calculating optimal paths for life pods. Every success brought relief. Every failure prompted immediate adjustment. As hours passed, the Saurian situation slowly stabilized. Life pods reached safer orbits, civilians were accounted for, and critical technology was preserved. The enemy fleet, though still patrolling, had not yet detected the clever maneuvers guided by Earth. Captain Lyra Oren moved through the corridors of the Krython, checking on her crew. "You have done well," she said quietly. "Every life saved is a victory. Every life preserved is proof that someone far away is helping us." "We are not alone," Taven nodded, a rare smile on his face. "They are real. The humans, they are real. And they are helping us survive." Alina watched as the final confirmation signals arrived. Most life pods had stabilized and critical Saurian systems were holding. Relief washed over her, but she knew it was temporary. "The enemy fleet will not stop," she said firmly. "This was only the first step. We have kept them alive. Now we must plan how to save them fully. Humanity cannot stop here." Raj looked at her, determination in his eyes. "We will do whatever it takes. We've come this far. We can't turn back now." Alina nodded. "Yes, humanity has a choice. We can stay observers or we can act. And I choose to act." In orbit above Voron, the Saurian crew looked at each other, weary but alive. The life pods floated steadily, guided by distant voices, and hope had returned to their eyes. Captain Lyra Orion addressed her crew, her voice steady and full of pride. Today we survived because someone else chose to act, someone we have never seen, yet they reached across the stars to help us. Remember this. Never forget that life is precious and courage can exist even across unimaginable distances. Taven placed a hand on her shoulder. We owe them everything, Lyra nodded. And someday we will repay that debt. For now we survive. For now hope travels across the void. On Earth, Alina stared at the screens one last time before resting. She knew that the mission was far from over. The Saurians were alive, but the enemy fleet remained, and the challenges ahead would only grow more dangerous. She whispered softly, almost as a promise to herself and the distant civilization, "We will not let them die. Humanity will not stand by. We have heard the call and we will answer, no matter the distance, no matter the danger." And in the quiet of the operations room, a sense of connection lingered. Across the vast emptiness of space, two civilizations, one alien, one human, were linked by hope, courage, and the first fragile steps toward trust. The rescue was only beginning. The Voron system was a maelstrom of tension. The Saurian life pods drifted in orbit, stabilized by careful guidance from Earth. Yet below them, the planet's surface was a storm of chaos. The enemy fleet remained in orbit, scanning relentlessly for any sign of the survivors. Captain Lyra Orion paced the bridge of the Chrython. Her crew worked with quiet urgency, monitoring the evacuation. Every alert from the ship's damaged sensors made her stomach tighten. She had survived many battles, but nothing had tested her patience and skill like this. Taven, her second officer, looked over the readings. "Captain, the enemy ships are starting a wider sweep. They may detect the pod soon." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Then we accelerate. We must move faster, stay hidden, and get everyone into safe orbits. Follow Earth's instructions exactly. Every life counts." On Earth, Dr. Alina Rafik and her team had reached the limits of their ingenuity. The quantum relay network was running at full capacity, amplifying signals, masking transmissions, and creating decoy communications to confuse the enemy. Every pulse sent to Voron was a lifeline. Raj, exhausted but determined, pointed at the screen. "Alina, we can't just guide them. Eventually, the enemy will detect our interference. We need to do more than that. We need to find a way to intervene directly." Alina rubbed her eyes. "I know. But Earth ships aren't fast enough to reach them yet. What we can do is prepare a fleet, plan a route, and gather volunteers. Step by step, we can get there." Her mind raced, considering possibilities, stealth approaches, diversion tactics, and the use of experimental propulsion systems to shorten the journey. Humanity had never attempted anything like this, but necessity had always been the mother of invention. Meanwhile, in orbit, Lyra's crew worked tirelessly. Life pods moved along precise paths, dodging debris and avoiding enemy patrols. The Chrython itself became a decoy, drawing attention away from the civilians. A young Saurian Mera piloted one of the final transport pods. Her hands shook, but she followed every instruction from Earth, adjusting her trajectory to avoid storms and gravitational anomalies. "Shield stable. Course steady. Almost there," she whispered. Lyra watched the monitors, heart pounding. "Hold steady, Mera. Almost there. You can make it." Taven adjusted the Chrython sensors, tracking the pod's progress. "Captain, it's working. The last pod is nearing safe orbit. They're going to make it." Lyra allowed herself a small, controlled smile. "Then we keep moving. We cannot relax yet. The enemy is still out there." On Earth, Alina coordinated with military and scientific leaders. They debated the next move. Some feared the risk of direct intervention, but Alina's determination was unshakable. "We have proven we can guide them," she said firmly. "Now we must go further. We must find a way to rescue them fully. If we hesitate, the enemy will adapt and we will lose them forever." A senior officer frowned. "But the fleet is far from ready and our ships are too slow. Any direct mission could end in disaster." Alina's eyes burned with resolve. "We don't have the luxury of waiting. Humanity cannot ignore a cry for help. We can prepare. We can innovate. And we will act. Every second we delay is a life lost." Back in orbit, the Saurian evacuation faced its final trial. The last group of civilians, along with critical cultural and technological data, was being loaded into life pods. The atmosphere of Voron had grown unstable, violent storms forming near the escape routes. The Krython shuddered as enemy weapons fired nearby, testing shields and defenses. Lyra moved between life pods, offering encouragement. Stay calm. Focus on the instructions. Earth is guiding us, and we can survive if we trust them. Mara adjusted her pod once more, dodging a storm that ripped through the upper atmosphere. Course corrected. Shields holding. We're almost clear, she reported. Taven's eyes were glued to the monitors. Captain, all pods accounted for. They've made it into stable orbits. We've done it, Lyra exhaled slowly. Then we keep moving. We cannot stop. We must continue to protect them until they reach safety. Alina monitored the final confirmation signals from Earth. The life pods were stable, critical systems maintained, and the civilians accounted for. Relief washed over her, but it was fleeting. The enemy fleet remained patrolling the system. They would not give up easily. Raj looked at her. Alina, we've kept them alive. But now what? How do we save them completely? Alina's mind raced. We build a plan. We prepare a fleet. We develop faster ships and diversion strategies. We cannot rely on guidance alone. Humanity has to act directly. Her determination set the tone for her team. Engineers, scientists, and military personnel began working at a frantic pace, designing escape routes, recalibrating propulsion systems, and creating decoy signals to mask any future interventions. On Voron, the Saurians began to understand the magnitude of what had happened. Captain Lyra Oren addressed her crew and the civilians. Today, we survived because someone else chose to act, she said, her voice firm and proud. Somewhere, far across the stars, a species we have never seen reached out to help us. They listened, they guided, and they gave us a chance. Remember this. Hope can exist across unimaginable distances. Courage can travel further than light itself. Taven nodded. We owe them everything. Our survival, our culture, our people, they are all because of humans. Lyra's expression softened. Then we remember, and someday we repay that debt. For now we survive. For now hope travels across the void. Back on Earth, Alina worked late into the night. Every confirmed signal from Voron was a victory, but she knew the challenges ahead would be far greater. The enemy fleet had not been defeated, and the Saurians' planet remained fragile. She whispered to herself a promise across the stars. We will not let them die. Humanity will not remain silent. If a civilization calls for help, we answer. No matter the distance, no matter the danger. Raj looked at her, a faint smile on his face. We've done something incredible. We've reached across the galaxy and made a difference, but the next step, it will be harder. Alina nodded, determination etched in every line of her face. Yes, the next step will be harder, but we cannot fail. Humanity has a choice, and we choose to act. Meanwhile, the enemy fleet adjusted its patrol patterns. They had noticed disturbances in communications but had not yet traced the source. The Saurians' escape had temporarily confused them, but their persistence meant that the danger was far from over. On Voron, the surviving Saurians looked at the sky with a new understanding. They were no longer alone. Somewhere light years away, another species had heard their cry and chosen to act. That knowledge gave them courage, a renewed strength to survive, and hope that humanity might one day reach them fully. Captain Lyra Oren gazed at the distant stars. We survived this round, but this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast and danger is everywhere, but now we know. Help can come from the most unexpected places, and we will survive because of it. On Earth, Alina's team began planning for the future. They worked on creating faster ships, developing stealth technology, and preparing a fleet capable of reaching Voron to assist directly. The first act of rescue had succeeded. The next would require courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to step into the unknown. Alina looked at the star maps, thinking of the distant Saurians.
We have answered the first call, she said softly.
And when the next comes, we will answer again. Humanity has a role now. We are protectors of life. We cannot ignore it. And so two civilizations, one alien, one human, were bound by hope, trust, and courage. Across light years, their fates intertwined. The Saurians survived for now, guided by voices they had never seen. Humanity prepared to act directly, stepping into the void, ready to face dangers that few could imagine. The rescue was only the beginning. The impossible had been attempted and humanity had succeeded against all odds. But the galaxy had many more challenges ahead, and the next trial would test every ounce of courage, intelligence, and perseverance in both species. The galaxy was watching. Millions of light years away, a small species called humans had answered a desperate cry for help. Now, after weeks of guidance, calculations, and careful planning, humanity was ready to act directly. Dr. Alina Rafik stood in the command room of Earth's Deep Space Operations Hub. Behind her, screens displayed star maps, the positions of the Saurian life pods, and the movements of the enemy fleet. Her team moved quickly, adjusting signals, rerouting quantum relays, and preparing the first fleet of humanity's fastest ships for launch. "This is it," Alina said, her voice calm but firm. "The Saurians have survived because of our guidance. Now it is our turn to reach them. Every life we can save, we will." Raj, her assistant, nodded, eyes wide with excitement and determination. "We've come so far. I can't believe this is happening. Humanity. We're really doing this." Alina smiled faintly. "Yes, and we will not fail. We've guided them. Now we protect them." Light years away, Captain Lyra Oren and the Saurian crew were preparing for the next stage of their survival. The life pods orbited Voron. Civilians safe for now, but the enemy fleet continued to patrol aggressively. The crew knew that time was limited. "We cannot stay in orbit forever," Lyra said, addressing her officers. "We have survived this long, but we need a plan for the future. And if these humans can reach us, then hope is real. We must trust them completely," Taven nodded. "Every instruction they sent has worked. They are extraordinary." Lyra allowed herself a small nod. "Then we follow their guidance. Every move counts. We survive and humanity will help us fully." On Earth, the fleet prepared for launch. These ships were not designed for combat. They were rapid response vessels engineered for speed and efficiency. Yet they carried advanced technology and a single purpose: reach Voron, protect the Saurians, and guide them to safety. Alina monitored the countdown. All ships are ready. Quantum relays are synchronized. Communication channels are open. Launch in T-minus 30 seconds. The room was tense but filled with quiet determination. Every person understood the stakes. This mission was humanity's first true step into the galaxy's wider challenges. "Launch," Alina said. One by one, the ship surged forward, engines blazing with power beyond what the Saurians had ever seen in any vessel. Light stretched and bent as they accelerated, leaving Earth behind. Meanwhile, the Saurians watched the distant streaks of light through their sensors. "They are coming," Mara whispered, awe in her voice. "The humans, they are coming to help us," Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes, they will reach us. And when they do, survival will no longer be a struggle against time alone. It will be a chance to live fully." Taven leaned over the console, eyes scanning the enemy patrols. "They will have to avoid detection. The fleet is still out there. If they are caught," Lyra interrupted gently. "They are smart. They have studied the enemy, calculated every move. Trust them. We have no other choice." As the human fleet approached the Voron system, Alina directed every move with precision, using the same decoy techniques she had applied to guide the Saurians. She created phantom signals, false locations, and navigational puzzles to mislead the enemy fleet. "Engage stealth protocols," she instructed. "Avoid direct contact until we reach the pods. Our goal is guidance, not combat." Raj observed the map. "It's incredible. We're not fighting them, but we're outsmarting them. Humanity's strength isn't just weapons, it's strategy." Alina nodded. "Yes, we save lives by thinking, planning, and acting together. This is our way to protect the Saurians." In orbit, the Saurians prepared for a coordinated evacuation. The life pods were positioned for optimal escape routes, and every civilian had received instructions to remain calm and follow procedures exactly. The Krython itself was ready to act as a decoy, drawing the enemy's attention away from the pods. "Stay focused," Lyra ordered. "We have one chance. Follow Earth's guidance. Every movement must be precise." Mira adjusted the final pod's trajectory. "All systems stable. We're ready for extraction." Taven's voice trembled slightly. "They're coming." "The humans. They're really here?" Lyra nodded, hope and pride mingling in her expression. "Then we survive. And we live because someone else chose to act." The human fleet reached the outer edges of the Voron system. Alina's voice resonated through communications, calm and steady. guiding both human and Saurian actions. "Pods Delta, Echo, and Theta," she said. "Adjust your approach slightly to avoid enemy scans. Maintain shield integrity and follow the path I'm transmitting. Human fleet is nearby. We will guide you to safety." Mara adjusted her pod according to the instructions. "Course adjusted. Shield stable. We are moving." The other pods followed suit, every action coordinated across millions of kilometers of space. The enemy fleet began to notice disturbances. Their sensors detected irregular signals, false transmissions, and phantom movements. They scanned desperately, but the human strategies were precise, clever, and unexpected. One of the Saurian officers exclaimed, "They cannot find us. The humans. They are protecting us." Lyra allowed herself a breath of relief. "Then keep moving, stay calm. Our survival depends on focus and trust." The human fleet guided the life pods toward a safe corridor away from enemy patrols. Alina's calculations were perfect. Every pod avoided storms, debris, and enemy scans. Slowly, one by one, the civilians moved closer to safety. Raj observed with wide eyes. "We're actually doing it. We're saving them. Humanity. We're saving an entire civilization." Alina didn't smile. She couldn't, not yet. "We save them fully only when they reach safety. Until then, every instruction matters. Every second counts." In orbit, the Saurians began to feel the first real relief. The danger had not passed, but hope was tangible. Captain Lyra Oren addressed her crew and the civilians one final time. "Today, we survive because someone else chose to act. A species we have never met, humans, have risked everything to guide us, protect us, and reach us. Remember this. Courage and hope can travel further than light. Life is precious and help can come from the most unexpected places." Taven added quietly, "We owe them everything. Our survival, our future, it is because of them." Lyra nodded. "Then we remember. And someday we repay that debt. For now we survive, and we live." The final moments of the rescue were tense. Life pods navigated through the last threats, shielded by the Krython and guided by the human fleet. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every decision mattered. Then finally, the last pod reached a stable orbit in a hidden, secure location. Critical data, civilians, and technology were safe. The enemy fleet, unable to pinpoint the pod's location, retreated in frustration. Captain Lyra Oren allowed herself to exhale. "It's done. They are safe," Mira whispered, awe in her voice. We made it, the humans. They saved us." Taven placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "They are remarkable. A species so far away, yet they risked everything for us." Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes. "Then we survive. And we will never forget them." Back on Earth, Alina allowed herself the first real smile in days. The signals confirmed that every pod was safe. Humanity had acted, guided, and intervened successfully. They had reached across the galaxy and protected a civilization in peril. Raj looked at her, voice full of wonder. "We've done the impossible. We've really done it." Alina's eyes shone with pride. "Yes, and this is only the beginning. Humanity has a role now, and we will answer the calls that come. Life matters. Hope matters. And we are part of the galaxy now, fully and without hesitation." In the distant orbit of Voron, the Saurians looked up at the stars with renewed hope. They were alive, guided and protected by a species they had never met. Humanity had answered the call, and in doing so had earned the trust, respect, and admiration of another civilization. Captain Lyra Oran addressed her crew one final time. "We have survived because someone else chose to act. Remember this, and remember who is watching the stars with us. Courage, hope, and life are worth protecting no matter the distance." Taven added softly, "And now, humanity is part of our story. Our survival is proof of their strength and heart." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then we live, and we honor them by continuing to survive, to grow, and to thrive." Across the galaxy, Earth and Voron shared a bond stronger than any distance. One species had called for help and another had answered, showing that courage, intelligence, and compassion could travel further than light itself. The distress call had traveled far, but humanity had heard every word, acted with determination, and made a difference that would echo through the stars for generations to come. The galaxy was no longer silent, and humanity had found its first true place among the stars.